I'm Mike Warren, Chairman of the Academy, and it's my pleasure this morning to welcome you to the 2016 Academy of Honor induction ceremony. In addition to the warmest welcome, I want you to also know we are celebrating today the 51st installation of members into the Academy of Honor. The Academy was created by the Alabama legislature on October 29, 1965, and its purpose was to bestow honor and recognition on living Alabamians for their outstanding accomplishments and service, those things which reflect honor and credit on the state of Alabama. Particularly, I think, in this often divisive political year, it's important for us to stop and focus on the many positive things about Alabama and our country. There is no better way for us to do that than to celebrate today with two of the best and brightest that Alabama has to offer. So today we join to induct Dr. Jack Hawkins, Jr. and Mr. Claude Nielsen into the Alabama Academy of Honor. At this time, I would ask that Rabbi Elliot Stevens of Temple Beth Or here in Montgomery and Rabbi of the oldest Jewish congregation in Montgomery to deliver our invocation. Rabbi Stevens.
O God, you have called us into life, setting us in the midst of purposes we cannot measure or understand. We thank you for the good we know, for the life we have, and for the many gifts that have been our daily portion. The beauty of earth and sky, the visions that have stirred us from our ease and quickened our endeavors, the demands of truth and justice that move us to acts of goodness, and the contemplation of your eternal presence. And now as we gather to honor Jack Hawkins, Jr. and Claude B. Nielsen into the Alabama Academy of Honor, we ask that you, O God, graciously receive our prayers. Help us to hear your call. At this moment of celebration, we ask that you grant us a wise and constant spirit, aware of our debt to others for what we have achieved. May we and those we honor be kind in thought, gentle in word, and generous in deed. May we rejoice in their accomplishments, even as we thank you for the ability you have bestowed upon them and upon us all to make our world a better place. We pray, O Lord our God, that you grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves, and the charity to see the best in those around us. God, as your partner in the work of creation, may we all learn to use our knowledge and the moral compass you have given each of us for righteous purpose. And may those who have been entered into the rolls of the Alabama Academy of Honor be a blessing to all humanity. Amen.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Stevens. In addition to the 100 members of the Academy, the Alabama Academy of Honor also includes the 7 living governors. Today, the Academy is most grateful that our current governor, Robert Bentley, is here with us once again to, at this point, bring us greetings. Governor Bentley.
Well, good morning, everyone. y'all are too serious. I mean, this is a happy time. Yeah, we don't need to be so serious today. This is a great day. You know, I've had the privilege. I don't think I've missed a one. I don't think I've missed one. One I almost missed because I had to go out of town, but I did make it very briefly. But it's an honor to be with you today, and it's an honor to be with our two new inductees today. You know, Jack I've known for a long time, and I've spent a lot of time with him on the Board of Trustees down at Troy and the great university, Troy University, and so it's an honor for me to be here with Jack being inducted into this. Jack, congratulations. And Claude, where was Claude? Where is Claude? On this side, yeah, Claude. I want to congratulate you. I've known Claude also for several years, and he has done a fantastic job as a businessman up in Birmingham at Coca-Cola, and so this is great. Now, what's good about this is inducting people into a hall of honor while they're still alive. Isn't that a blessing? You know, so often we honor people who are dead. Well, you know, we ought to honor people while they're alive, and we ought to tell them how much we appreciate them. This Alabama Hall of Honor, that this Academy of Honor that we have today, was actually created in 1965 by the legislature, and it's limited to 100 living individuals in the state of Alabama. Now, I get to be in it because I'm the governor. Now, I would have never been in it had I not been the governor. All right. So I am honored, though, as a living governor to be a part of this, and I've enjoyed coming to these and hearing about these individuals that I already know, but it is great to be able to honor them while they're alive, and then they can enjoy it. So thank you for letting me be a part of this, and I look forward to hearing Jack Edwards in just a few minutes. But I certainly look forward to being with y'all today, and thank you. Thank you, all of you who have come today. Those of you who are in our Academy of Honor, thank you for coming back. Kathy has always done such a great job these last 6 years, and now Mike. Smile, Mike. Okay, all right. So we're excited to be here today. So thank you very much.
We come now to two parts of our program that are particularly difficult because I'm going to ask two different groups of people to follow instructions. The first group includes our constitutional officers who are with us today, and now the instruction part. I'm going to ask, as I call your name, if you would stand and remain standing. That's the tough part. And when you're all introduced, we will give you a grateful round of applause. So here we go. Lieutenant Governor Kay Ivey, Secretary of State John Merrill, Treasurer Young Boozer, Commissioner of Agriculture and Industries John McMillan. And now, ladies and gentlemen. Now you can sit, Young. Yes, now you can sit. I left that part out, sorry. Having seen how it's done, and with some trepidation, I now want to ask the current members of the Academy who are with us today to stand as I call your name, but I would ask that you too remain standing until you're all introduced, and then we'll recognize you as appropriate. So we begin with the tallest member, Ed Bridges, Tom Carruthers, Mason Davis, Mike Jenkins, Barbara Larson, Vaughn Narcette, Kathy Randall, Richard Arrington, Bill Cabanis, John Denson, Jack Edwards, Mike Goodrich, Miller Gorey, Seth Hammett, Tom Louder, Margaret Porter. Have I left anyone out? Please now. We have a bit of business to attend to. The members of the Executive Committee of the Academy are Albert Brewer, who is our Secretary, Ed Bridges, Tom Carruthers, Mason Davis, Mike Jenkins, Barbara Larson, Vaughn Marcette, Kathy Randall, and myself. At this time, we need a motion to elect these persons to the Executive Committee, and then a second, if I can get it. A motion, please. And a second. There will be no discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Thank you. The motion carries. Now we come to the part of this ceremony that, frankly, we have been not particularly looking forward to, because since our last induction ceremony, the Academy has lost two esteemed members, Gary Neal Drummond and Nell Harper Lee. We honor their memories today and express appreciation for their tremendous contributions to the state of Alabama and beyond. If you would, bow your heads with me for just a moment as we remember Gary Neal Drummond and Nell Harper Lee. Amen. And now we come to the exciting part of this day when we induct Jack Hawkins and Claude Nielsen. I want to ask Mason Davis to come forward. Mason will read each citation for the inductee, and we're back at instructions. As Mason begins to read the citation, would you, first Jack and then Claude, make your way to the front so that you can be here as Mason completes the reading for a photograph at the end. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. William Michael Warren, who I have known for years and years. At one time, I sat on his board at Energy until he left and I became too old to sit. I'm going to read the citation that tells a great deal about each of these persons, both of whom I have known for a number of years. For being born in Mobile, Alabama, for earning a bachelor's and a master's degree from the University of Montevallo and a doctorate from the University of Alabama, for serving as an assistant dean at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, thereafter as president of the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind, for being commissioned as a lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps and serving as a platoon leader during the Vietnam War, leading to his being awarded the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, and a citation from the Korean Marine Corps, for being named Chancellor of Troy University on September the 1st, 1989, for leading the merger of the Troy State University system into Troy University in 2005, a unification that enabled the institution to better reflect its worldwide mission. For his leadership, under which academic standards for admission have increased, new degree programs have been established, and intercollegiate athletics have joined the highest level of the NCAA. For being honored in 1985 by the University of Montevallo as Distinguished Alumnus of the Year, for being inducted into the Hall of Fame of Murphy High School in Mobile, Alabama in 2005, for being recognized with the Chief Executive Leadership Award presented by the Council for the Advancement and Support of Education, otherwise known as CASE, and as the March of Dimes River Region Citizen of the Year, for receiving the Distinguished Public Service Award from the Secretary of the Air Force, for being one of 9 university presidents or chancellors worldwide, and the only one in North America to receive the World Confucius Institute's Individual Performance Excellence Award, presented by the Republic of China, for serving on several boards, including the Daniel Foundation of Alabama, the American Village, Troy Bank and Trust Company, the Board of Visitors of Marine Corps University, and if I might take the liberty, as a member of the Board of Trustees of Talladega College when I served as its chairman, and when he left, I left. Jack Hawkins, Jr. is elected to the Alabama Academy of Honor.
Thank you so much. It was in June when Mike called me, and I was in China, and there's a 13-hour time difference, and after I awakened to the point I could respond, I said, Mike, are you sure you're calling the right person? I am truly honored, and I thank you for this distinction. I congratulate my classmate, Claude Nielsen, whose career I followed for so many years. And I would say to you, Mason, thank you for that introduction. As I looked at the list of those who have been inducted, what a distinguished list of great Alabamians. I was mindful of a comment once made by Winston Churchill, who said, you make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. Often I tell our students at Troy University that I don't want them to have a job. Our freshmen are particularly perplexed when I say that because they think that's what it's about. I tell them I want them to have a cause that becomes their commitment, that becomes their career. I have been very privileged over the years to serve in a number of institutions. You mentioned several, the United States Marine Corps during the 60s, probably where I learned life's most important lessons. In the 1970s, I had the honor of serving at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, and witnessed the transformation from a great medical center to a great university, and it was there that I found the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, and somehow talked her into marrying me, and soon we'll celebrate our 40th anniversary. We went from there to the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind, which was truly a ministry and not a job. It was a wonderful experience. Our girls were born there, and then in 1989, a member of this academy called me, Mr. Wallace Malone, to ask me to make that journey to Troy, and we were honored to do that. We've been there now 28 football seasons. Some seasons have been longer than others. I think this year will be among our best. I wanted to, before sitting down, I wanted to say thank you first to the foundation. And I know Claude will say this about Kate and your family. The foundation begins with family. I thank Janice for her undying support. We have two daughters. Our Katie couldn't be here. Her husband is a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. They're stationed in Anchorage, Alaska, and it was just a bit too far. But she's here in spirit. She's there with our two grandchildren as well. I am thrilled, though, that our daughter Kelly and her husband Adam could be with us. 10 months ago, Kelly delivered the most beautiful baby girl I've ever seen. Adam just returned. He is a coach with the Pittsburgh Pirates organization, and we're thrilled that he could be here for this ceremony. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our nephew Boyd Busby. Boyd is the executive director of the Alabama State Board of Public Accountants, and we're very proud of him. Three other groups actually that I wanted to mention. One is Friends. As I look around this chamber, and I didn't come to filibuster, although I'm in the right place to do that, I wanted to mention Friends. Several are here today. I can't begin to mention them by name. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't say there's a special group that goes back more than a half century. Some people know them affectionately as the Montevallo Mafia. They had to send 3 representatives today because in the interest of decorum, there's no way that we could have invited the other 50 who would have surely been here. But I want to recognize Dr. Doug Patterson, Colonel John Schmidt, and a gentleman who has been my buddy since junior high school in 1957, one of America's great mayors, Todd Strange, and the wife that I introduced him to, Miss Linda Strange. My delegation of great supporters from Troy University thank the greatest leadership team that I know. I appreciate their support. And the last group, I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you, because they allow us to serve, and that's the Board of Trustees of Troy University, beginning with Governor Bentley. Governor, thank you so much for your support. Let me, in the interest of job preservation, let me introduce those folks to you, and you can recognize them as a group when I sit down, but I wanted to introduce Miss Karen Carter, General Ed Crowell. If you'll just raise your hand or stand up so everybody will know we're so proud of them. Lamar Higgins, Mr. Gibson Vance, Mr. Roy Drinkard, and the mayor of the city of Andalusia, Earl Johnson. Thank all of you. I'm going to close by saying one last thing. Mason, thank you for indulging me here for a few minutes. It was Billy Graham who made the comment that the 2 most powerful words, but the most underutilized words in the English language, are those 2 magical words, thank you. To the Academy, I say thank you, and it's a heartfelt thank you. God bless you.
I don't know whether to call you Jack or Dr. Hawkins, but thank you. The next inductee is Claude B. Nielsen. For earning a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics from Sewanee, which is the University of the South, in 1973, and receiving a master's degree in business from Colgate Darden School of Business at the University of Virginia in 1975. For joining Coca-Cola Bottling Company United, Inc. in 1979 and holding a variety of operational and managerial positions until 1991, when appointed Chief Executive Officer, for leading Coca-Cola United to become the largest privately held Coca-Cola bottler in the United States and the 3rd largest Coca-Cola bottler in the nation. I am impressed. For leading the Coca-Cola Company to announce the commencement of the 21st Century Beverage Partnership model, one that refranchised territories to select Coca-Cola bottler to strengthen and build a more agile, customer-focused franchise business partnership in the United States, for providing the leadership which led to the successful transition of 17 Coca-Cola facilities and territories, including more than 2,000 associates serving approximately 38,500 customers in the Southeast, and additionally announcing substantial expansion, most notably in Atlanta and Mobile, that will continue through 2017. For being active in the business community, having held many leadership positions within the Coca-Cola system and soft drink industry, such as chairman of the American Beverage Association and the Coca-Cola Scholars Foundation, and for currently serving as chairman of the board for Coca-Cola United. For sharing his energy and enthusiasm with numerous civic and charitable organizations, including the United Way of Central Alabama and the American Cancer Society and the Birmingham Rotary Club, and if I may take the liberty of having the good sense to marry Kate Johnson of Birmingham. Claude B. Nielsen is elected to the Alabama Academy of Honor.
Thank you, Mason, for delivering all those nice platitudes my office offered for you to recite. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. One thing Mason mentioned about the future of our company that I want to share with you, that, and that is the first question I get every time I see somebody since we've announced the acquisition of the Atlanta Coca-Cola Bottling Company is when we're going to move our headquarters to Atlanta. And the answer is never. Never. We've been in Birmingham and we've been in this state since 1902. This is our home, and this is where our home will always be, period, end of subject. So let me, Mason delivered the platitudes. Let me share with you the unvarnished truth about me, and it's pretty simple, really. I'm probably, in fact, I am quite certain I'm the luckiest human being on the planet. Not exaggerating one bit when I say that. The reason is pretty simple. Kate and I have been married 39 years. We're surrounded by a loving family and just welcomed our 6th grandchild to the family. We're surrounded by many, many friends, many of whom are here today. And that's an extraordinary blessing. And for that, we are, we're so thankful. The other thing is we've just wrapped up careers, 2 very gratifying, very fulfilling careers, Kate and I both, and now enjoying retirement. And it's been a soft landing, but it's a whole lot of fun. I don't feel guilty one bit about not being in the office at 6:30, so it's good. So we've also, she and I will, one of these days, I don't want to rush this, but we will be cradle
to grave Alabamians. And for us, that's a real blessing. And what I want to say to you is today, now, another blessing and a reason that we feel so fortunate, and I feel so fortunate, is to be in this good company. The good company, not only with my classmate, Jack Hawkins, but all of you that are members of this academy. And all of the blessings that I've just shared with you that are so important to us, I just want you to know that we don't take them for granted. We do not take them for granted. We are fortunate, and today I want to thank you and express most sincerely my appreciation for including me in this company of the Academy. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you, Claude, for being with us, for giving us this opportunity to recognize and honor you. And thank you also for your wise words to us today. We appreciate that very, very much. Ann and I were in the car about 6 hours yesterday listening to the CD of the play, the most successful play on Broadway now, Hamilton. Among many things I learned in listening to that was how grateful I am that the early attempts of some of the founding fathers to create royalty in the United States did not happen. But I must tell you that if it had happened, and if we had had royalty in the United States and in Alabama, the king of South Alabama would have been Jack Edwards. Jack was inducted into the Academy of Honor in 1985. He represented our state in the House of Representatives for over 20 years. And it is now my distinct pleasure to give this podium to Jack Edwards as he has the opportunity to address our new inductees. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you very much. As I sat there listening to all of this, I thought, how in the world did I get in? I'm most impressed with the two of you. I'm most impressed with all of the 100 who are here and in it. And it's been my joy to be a part of the Academy for a long, long time. I was inducted in 1985, 31 years ago, and it's one of those times I'll never forget. But I really had it brought home to me last night when Barbara Larson invited Jolene and me to come have dinner at her home. And as we walked into the front door, there stood my daughter Lane. Now, I'm so thrilled she's here with my wife Jolene. 31 years ago, I was supposed to give the comments after our class was inducted. And at 4:30 in the morning, somebody ran across our yard on Mobile Bay and yelled, "Jubilee." Now, have y'all ever heard of Jubilee? That's when the salt water from the Gulf and the fresh water from the 5 rivers kind of come together and do crazy things, and the fish just kind of float up on our shore. And it's the only time, I think, where anybody in the world is entitled to be in your front yard. And we grabbed our buckets and we grabbed our nets and we went out and we caught flounders and shrimp and finally Lane, I think it was, said, "Daddy, don't you have to drive that van all the way to Montgomery and make a speech?" we gave all the fish to our next door neighbor, and we rushed out and cleaned up and jumped in the van, and we literally got here just in time. But that's one of the joys of growing up, and I think I probably have grown up. I stand here thinking about the preacher who got up in the pulpit one day, and he said, "I really have to apologize. I left my prepared sermon on the dining room table. And so today I'm just going to have to speak to you from my heart. Next week," he said, "I'll try to do better." I want to talk to you just a few minutes about what I guess I call vision. You're the leaders of this state. And I recall a time or two when I made speeches to the graduation class of a university. And I told them, I said, you know, you've prepared, you've studied, you're graduating now, and you're going to rush out on the street with your diploma, and you're going to say, "Here I am, world, I have a BA." And the world's going to say, "Sit down, son, I'm going to teach you the rest of the alphabet." There is so much going on in this world, in this country, and in this state that should be a major concern to all of us. And it doesn't work if you just worry about what's going on today. What you need to start worrying about is what you can do in your own area to make it better. You're all heroes in your own sense, and we're so proud to be part of this organization. But there's so much more out there that we've simply got to deal with. This morning's paper, I opened up How to Heal the Nation. Think about that. I'm not here to be for or against any candidate or anything like that, but I'm just telling you that 70-odd% of the people in this country are going to cast a negative ballot in November. Not because they want somebody desperately, because they don't want somebody a little more or a little less than somebody else. And the time to start worrying about those kind of things is back at the precinct level, and the primary level, and the delegate level. To pay attention to who's offering, to pay attention to what they stand for, to pay attention to those things that we need to make this country of ours great and prosper again. And it's up to you. It's up to us to do our part to make these kinds of things happen. And so we've got to learn, we've got to teach perhaps, that compromise is not a bad word. That sitting down and talking to each other and working out differences is not a bad thing to do. And I'll tell you, every time I have had a chance to talk to anybody who was running, I've talked about being a real leader. When I was there, and it's easy to say back in my day and all that, but when I was there, I was in the minority the whole 20 years. But every Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock, the president had a leadership meeting in the White House, Democrat, Republican, House and Senate leaders, for an hour, hour and a half to talk over the issues of the day. What if we did that now? I was very fortunate to be one of those. And I met with Nixon, Ford, Carter, and Reagan every Wednesday morning with the Democrat and Republican leaders, and we talked to them. We heard the president's program. We had a chance to talk back and forth with him. We went back to the House and Senate. We could share those thoughts with the others. And, and, and it's easy to say, gee, that was great for us, but why not now? Well, I'm saying why not now? I'm saying why not work together? In my own party in Washington, we've got 60 or 70 people in the party, in the House, who don't even want to work with their own leadership. It's one thing to say the Democrats aren't working with us, but it's another thing when you say your own party's got these people who are not working with you. You've got to find a way to make it come together and make it happen. And I think, and so my plea to you, to all of us, is to be proud of where we are, to be proud of this honor, to be proud of what we stand for. But for goodness sake, find a way to share that at the early level so we start to bring people along that we will be proud of as time goes by. You know, when I was there, we didn't have such things as CNN and Fox and MSNBC and all those kind of things. In fact, my earliest commercials 51 years ago were live. And in those days, you could buy all the time you wanted. TV stations were just delighted to sell it to you. And I'll never forget, Jolene will pardon me, Lane, but I'll never forget 51 years ago, actually 52 years ago when I was running, I bought 15 minutes the last day of the election on the station back home. And I'm sitting in the master's chair. There's a sofa right here. Jolene's sitting here. Lane, who was 9 then, and Richard, our son, who was 5, sitting on the sofa. And Jolene was a little nervous about this whole live thing, and so she'd taken a tranquilizer. And so I'm trying my best to focus in that lens. I see all these lenses out here right now. And I'm trying to focus in that lens, and all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I see my 5-year-old boy going. And so in my finest way as a kid, really, I kind of did this to Jolene. And Jolene goes. And he picked his nose 15 minutes. And finally, when the TV was over, Lane, all of 9, falls out on the floor and says, "Mama, we're ruined." And Jolene goes. Now, when we get home, I know y'all brought me to hear all this, but when we get home, it's worn off of her, and the phone's ringing. And she answered the phone. It's our friend Baki Lyons. Some of y'all may know Baki from back home, in Mobile. "Jolene, y'all are the smartest politicians I've ever heard of in my life." And she said, "What do you mean, Baki?" He said, "Do you know there are 35,000 nose pickers in Mobile County?" Well, you see, that was what you call the good old days. And now you're lucky if you can afford 10 seconds or 20 seconds on TV, and all too often the money is spent in the wrong way, in my judgment, on these commercials, all trying to condemn somebody rather than set out why somebody ought to be the one we choose. And so I plead with you as the leaders to do your best to make a change in the way we approach all of this. I got interviewed in 2011, 5 years ago, and for a magazine. And the reporter called me back and said, "I just heard that you have great-grandchildren." And I said, yes, I have 3. And she said, well, what would you hope for your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, when they grow up? And I wrote this down. This is what was in the magazine, but this is what I really feel so strongly about what I'm trying to say to you. My hope is that my great-grandchildren will grow up in a country where civility will have been returned to common discourse and to the efforts to solve the country's problems. My hope is that they will be part of the process of coming together rather than pulling apart. My hope is that they will understand that the real answers are found through compromise and cooperation and not at the extreme edges of human thought. That, my friends, is what I hope for the future of this country. And I'll tell you, I'll close by saying that back home, we had a new preacher a few years ago, and we realized all of a sudden the church bulletin said at the very last thing, and now our service begins. And I thought about that for a few weeks. What in the world did he mean? And then I realized that the hymns had been sung, the collection had been taken, the sermon had been given from the heart. Now our service begins. Thank you.
Jack Edwards does not disappoint. Terrific, and so timely, and so timeless at the same time. We are now drawing to a close, so I'm back giving instructions. Someone leaned over and said, "Good luck, Mike, for this." We're going to adjourn in a few moments. I want to ask our inductees at the end to please come here so we can get the official photographs. And then thereafter, Academy members and immediate families, we're going to go to the Department of Archives and History for a luncheon. So we will look forward to having you there. And speaking of the staff of the Department of Archives and History, let me just tell you how outstanding they are as the hands and feet of the Academy of Honor. And Dr. Steve Murray is the leader of that band, but Georgia Ann Connor, Steve Wheat, and my right-hand person, Tunisia Thomas, make all of this happen, and we're very grateful to them, as we are also grateful to the officials in the House and the Senate, as well as the Capitol Events folks for allowing us to use this historic location for our ceremony today. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me again thank you for being here and sharing a terrific day with Jack Hawkins and Claude Nielsen. Thank you also today as we have heard these wise words from our fellow Academy member and great friend, Jack Edwards. With those comments, we are adjourned with our thanks.